I love taking a film that we think would be typical of a Black creator. And that is something, we talk about civil rights, we talk about injustices, etc., but then doing it in such a non-conventional way, especially with the shifts in perspective and whatnot. Tell me kind of what was your idea behind crafting the film in the way that it was done?
Yeah, making a film to me is an enormous privilege, and I think in that, always owe it to myself when putting a piece of media out into the world to have it be engaged with some of the larger socio-political concerns. And I'm always interested in the way in which the camera, in both photography and film, has produced Blackness. I like to call photography and film the technology of racism. And I think in that, I'm interested in what it looks like to be looked at and what it looks like to look from. And those different registers of camera use make it into Nickel Boys.
That's so interesting, the idea of like technology kind of being that form. I was talking with someone about the idea that a lot of Black people and other people of color don't have pinups. Just something as simple as like a pinup. And people would say Dorothy Dandridge or like Alina Horn, but having that en masse where it is the majority instead of, everything else. I think something like that is so important, and just as important as having Black creators who make more experimental film or say, this is what we could be doing. Do you have any designs towards that? Are you saying, hey, other Black creators, this is what we could be doing? Or was it just like, this is something I want to do, and if people like it, they like it?
I love the question because it's complicated. As a person of color, I think you always feel the need to sort of uplift and the need to represent in a way that's positive, but also we feel the urge, like everyone else, to create from other modes of purpose. I think what's interesting to me is one, acknowledging that whatever's happened in cinema and photography in the history of it, which is quite short, has been a necessity, right? Like we need to move through different forms of representation, and then it's about the politics of those representations, and it continues to iterate. I like having the opportunity to explore, and I welcome other people to explore and think about where their urges to make and where their urges to represent in certain ways come from. And once you're in dialogue with that, I think then you're really capable to see how you see.
I loved the idea of working with the cinematographer, with Jomo, with being the other person who kind of ended up being the emotional sponge to a lot of the other characters because they had to emote against him, in a way. Tell me about kind of, and I think you even in some cases held the camera and were that brunt. What are the ways that you prepare for something like that? Because you're not necessarily an actor, and neither is Jomo, but there is a part of that has to be an actor.
Yeah, we had 3 camera operators, Sam Ellison, Jomo Frey, and myself. And I think from the images that are in the film, I think it's probably even a third across the way. And I'll tell you that none of us expected what happened. It was a concept that we're going into the film with, and you can't be prepared for standing across from Anjanou. You can't be prepared for standing across from Ethan or Brandon and responding to them in a way in which, we had talked about ducking the camera this way, but when the person is requiring you in the moment to do something else, what is that tension? And I hope that people feel that aliveness in the film. But yeah, what a impossible prediction.
It was so beautifully done, and I could talk for you a million more years about it, but unfortunately I can't right now. But thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to talk with us about it today.
No, thanks for your thoughtfulness.